The original woman who put up the first Facebook page around the march is not in the room with us today. Her name is Teresa Shook, and she's a grandmother out of Hawaii. So she's a person just like me, where she had never done this sort of activism work before. But in the early hours right after the election, she was putting up a Facebook page and then sending it to 40 people within her network. And little did I know, across the world, like 10-hour time difference, I was over in Brooklyn, New York, with a whole group of people, because I had this entire community of fashion designers and other creatives that I had been working with over the past 5 years. And they were saying, Bob, what are we supposed to do? Because we were all feeling the same way after the election. And so at that point I was like, we should march on Washington on inauguration weekend. And I was kind of just pulling it out of the air in a similar way to Teresa. And within 2 hours, because of the magic of social media, we had been connected. A mutual friend had said, hey, check this out. We connected as total strangers, and we combined forces, and from there things started really snowballing. So at that point we had tens of thousands of people saying that they wanted to come, and then that turned into hundreds of thousands of people. When I know both Teresa and I really would have been content to march with like 100 of our friends or 40 of our friends. We would have been down for that. But neither of us had gone viral before, so it was quite an experience. And something that I'm actually very grateful that we started this on social media, and that social media was a part of the inception of the march, because it allowed us live feedback that for me, as someone working in fashion and in business, it's kind of like customer feedback. You really need to find out what people are thinking to be able to improve a product. And in the same way, with the march, we had thousands and thousands of comments from really passionate people, direct messages. It was very overwhelming for the group of us that started, but it was also necessary, because the march wouldn't have fulfilled its potential promise if it hadn't been for the points that came up, which is that with the name that we originally started with, the Million Women March. This is actually the 20th anniversary this year, in 2017, of the Million Women March in Philadelphia in 1997. And that's something everyone here should go look up if you don't know about it, because it's a part of history already. And so considering the origins of that and honoring the movements that have come before us is something that we needed to do. And then additionally, we needed to center the leadership of women of color, because one thing about the speed of putting something together that rapidly is that, especially for folks who haven't been a part of the movement before, we were not taking into consideration all of the pain and the trauma of what had happened, and we were not being considerate about who we were originally building with, because we had all just met each other. And so I'm very grateful for everybody who commented and who took the march seriously from the beginning, and actually put in the time to comment. And we didn't know until later, but actually Linda was on the page.
She was one of them.
Yeah. So anyway, it was. I was very grateful that a woman named Vanessa contacted me directly. Everyone was strangers at this point, so it was all people we were just meeting. And she said that she knew just the right people for us to organize with. And I was so grateful a couple days later to be able to meet with Linda, Tamika, Carmen, and another group of ladies in person. And that was how we all started.
Yeah. You didn't tell them about Black Twitter.
Oh, Black Twitter? Yeah, I've been talking about Black Twitter lately. Yeah, so some of you know about Black Twitter. I didn't at the time. And,
found out.
Yeah, I found out. I was suddenly really popular on Black Twitter. And for all the wrong reasons, but yeah, honestly, like now I'm so appreciative of Black Twitter, because having that perspective is what made it possible for the march to become something. You can't just say that you want something to be unified. And that was absolutely what was going on. You can't just say like, oh, hey, you can come too. and this is unified, you know. So one thing that we learned through the march early on, for those of us who are new, is that you can't just say like, oh yeah, you can come have a seat at the table. You have to build the table from its origins with everybody that needs to be around it, everyone who's been affected. And you know, that's what made the march special, and that's what made the march great. And you know, we couldn't have, things like our unity principles, for instance, would have never happened if we didn't have trans women building with Chicano women, building with Black women, building with the disabled community, building with Muslim women, like the immigrants, everyone had to be there. And so I think that that's one of the key things for anyone who's building any movement, any organization, any action, is you have to start with everyone around the table.